There he is.
Yeah, beautiful.
Hi.
There's a
Hi.
line from Tagore, Indian poet, where he says, "Every child brings with it the message that God will never forsake mankind.
Yeah, interesting.
As long as they're here, there's
Interesting.
some innocence and purity and fun and joy." So anyway, Jacima, if you want to put that um, the email up and go to the second paragraph. Lauren, are you up for reading this? Whoop, maybe she's not here. What about Anthony? Can you see it on your screen?
I sure can. J Bob, everyone. Be happy to read it. So it says Darwin shared with us that at the mental level, we are unconsciously governed by many different paradigms, those of gender, ethnic identity, nationality, social class, the constructs of time and space. But according to him, the most predominant one is the paradigm that we are our limited personality self, separate from the unlimitedness of God. The goal is not about perfecting the personality, but about detaching ourselves from our personality self. Baba says that we are, in essence, love itself, which is beyond personality, although love uses our personality as a vehicle for its expression. We, as love, are beyond form. Our home is in the realm of spirit. I'm reminded of the lines of the French mystic Teilhard de Chardin, quote, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." How do we give up the addiction to our personality self as the be all and end all of life? It requires Baba's grace, as Darwin would say again and again. As we strive to obey him more and more to make Baba's personality and being our focus, we begin to turn away from giving so much importance to our own personality and its immersion in the time and space paradigm. We begin to dissolve into his eternal and formless being, which is our destiny and birthright.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
That,
J-Bob.
okay. Maybe I'll just say a few words here. And I've said this a number of times, so, but I think it bears repeating to some people who might be new. As I heard from Darwin many times, after a meeting one time at Darwin and Jean Shaw's back in 1970, as we were having the usual apple juice and cookies afterwards, and we were standing around, and Darwin just casually said to me, now I'm just a young kid, he says, uh, in his very kind of low key fashion, "You are not the personality self." Now, I'd never even heard the term, but I had no place to put that. I thought the whole purpose from Baba was to perfect myself, to go on improving myself until I reached the goal. Up till then, I was seeking the goal within my personality self. I had no idea there was such a thing as another within beyond my personality self, a within in the realm of the spirits. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm reminded of this something that Baba said to Helen Dom. Helen Dom was this lady from Switzerland who lived up on the hill in the late 1930s and early 40s. She's the one who painted the mural inside of Baba's tomb, you know, his future tomb. Anyway, she was a real loner. She was having difficulties with the kind of communal experience of being with all the women up on the hill. And she was struggling with this experience. Baba said to her, after talking with her, he said, "The trouble is you're trying to realize yourself rather than realizing me." That's an unusual, you're trying to realize yourself rather than realizing me. I don't know how much that distinction is clear. But anyway, let's start. I don't exactly remember where we were. I think we were on faith and daring, right?
Excuse me.
Shima, do you know? Anyway, let's start with faith and daring and have, what about Gabriella?
Jai Baba,
Yeah.
faith and daring. Changing our paradigm comes down to putting our faith and trust in something other than the mind, and that would be God or the Master. Faith and trust in God or the Master go beyond the control of reason and the expectations based on reasoning. At the mind level, the logical level, we tend to think that problems are solvable only based on certain contingencies. But instead of thinking that we have to figure out everything on an intellectual basis, when we are contending with doubts, fears, and anxieties, we have to build our faith so that our center of trust is in God or the Master. By faith, I mean spiritual faith, which can become a transcendent and triumphant faith, where all doubts are dispelled, former obstacles disappear, and we have clarity within through the eyes of the heart. Such faith requires courage because it is a matter of removing all doubts, all fears, and daring to trust God. If we trust Him completely and implicitly, we dare to go out on a limb of faith, even though we cannot see where it leads. Meher Baba says to trust God completely and leave everything to Him, to let Him take care of all of our problems. It is my experience that He does do this, but we need to have faith that He is capable of doing this and be strong in our belief. We have to root out all our doubts and the reservations that we hold in our consciousness. Increasing faith ultimately involves a growing intimacy with the Master and a growing acceptance of His intervention. This is not a head process, but a heart process, wherein one dares to open the heart completely to the Master and accept His loving, purifying, sustaining grace. We experience His grace in proportion to our trust and faith in Him. So we must dare to go out on the limb of full faith. Then things really begin to happen.
Beautifully read. Anyone have anything to share about that or any questions?
There's good faith in, huh?
Say that again, Nasreen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. You know how those LA people are, you know. Anything to say about that? um, I mean, one thing about Darwin that I noticed, he had such kind of faith that Bob was just behind whatever he was doing. I never had that much confidence, you know. I just think I was kind of in a situation with Bob, help me. I need some help here, you know. Whereas he just kind of knew that Baba was there and Baba was giving the help. It, you know, it's gotten better all these years, but way back when, I was quite amazed that he had such confidence in that Baba was living through him, and he could kind of rely upon that.
Please.
Anybody have any troubles in that respect?
I had a question.
Yeah.
How do you know, because it can be really subtle. I might think Baba is saying, do this, or guiding me in a certain direction or away from something. But if I dig deeper, is that really my own whim putting on Baba's mask and saying, oh, do this because it's more convenient, or because I'm in a masochistic zone thinking, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to be hard? How do you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, Baba does say intuition is always 100% correct, but is it an intuition that you're picking up, or is it your, your mind? Darwin used to say it's a little bit of a trial and error. You know what I mean? And you get a little sharper at it. You know what I mean? For example, you think, oh, this is what I should do today. And then you do it and you find out really it was really turned out to be a distraction. So you kind of, you have to have a little one-on-one talk with your mind and argue with it that's just didn't give you the right information. Or you can feel like, oh, I should go and see somebody today. And you go and see them and they were in great need. You know what I mean? So you were acting on intuition. So each one of those things, I mean, it takes, just like when you learn a piano, you start out, da 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 da, and you start out from the basics. Then you get to the chords and you get to melodies, and but it's the best thing going to be guided by our intuition, which Baba says is, someone has the line, the voice of inspiration, intuition, and guidance. To those who are receptive to my voice, I speak. But it's opening that up. And it's kind of fun. It doesn't have to be you get better at it. So that you can follow through with your intuitions and you can separate those out from mental projections.
So it's a little like learning to use a dowsing rod, but this is the intuition and Baba rod.
Yeah. And it's,
Jeff, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
me?
You sound mute, real flat and muted.
Oh my God! It's not that again. Okay, let me move this computer over. Is that
I
any
hear you
better?
just fine.
Oh well,
People in LA can hear you.
yeah. Well, in Colorado, up about above 5,000 feet.
Right.
Yeah, you're coming through clear in Michigan.
Okay, good. So, anyone else to say anything about that? Oh, good.
Gabriela.
Well, I was thinking about this lately a lot because I'm in an environment, I'm staying at this nursing home for a while healing, and it's all kinds of situations that I'm not used to, and I have to deal with all kinds of people that in a lot of new situations. And of course, my tendency is to try to fix everything and do everything and make everything right. And there's difficult dynamics with people, but with Baba, my faith has been a lot about not doing something. So you say go out on the limb, but I'm to go out on the limb and not act a lot of times because my gut is to actually do, and I'm a doer, So having faith in Baba has been a lot here, has been, and it seems that to the degree to which the situation is difficult, it's always a leap. No matter how deep my faith is, it's still a leap because Baba takes me even deeper. and gives me a little bit harder situation the next time, and so I have to the degree to which I'm willing to really dive in or go out on the limb, like he says, with all my heart, then I get good results. But if I halfway do it, not so good.
Excellent. Yeah. I think, another aspect of intuition is to be wholehearted about things. Even if you're a little bit ignorant about your wholeheartedness kind of comes through. It lands you, you're in the right territory, even if you're a little bit misguided. Now,
Great.
This is this whole chapter, but going back to the habitual paradigm, this reading describes what steps to take next after we recognize the habitual paradigm. For me, the habitual paradigm is me trying to solve my desires and wants and problems. What solution can I find? There must be something I can do, or manipulating everything. Even to the point of where I think everything will work out or it's okay. But of course, I've been faced with a lot of frustration and failure on that route. But what we're describing now, faith and daring, I think this is really difficult for me to do, but I have the very beginnings of experiencing it. But it's still very tough. But I have to look for practical ways to witness this with Baba. If I don't see something practical, it's really hard for me to be a witness to this. Well, that's going back to my own ego, of course. But so one of the ways which I do that is I try to be very thorough about some actions I'm taking. Since I'm in a later stage of life, I don't have to report to a job. I don't have to respond to a lot of responsibilities or demands placed upon me from other egos, especially. But so I was redoing my porch last week, and I was making plans. And of course, in all my plans, I made a bunch of assumptions, like how I was going to install it and what quantities were available to me locally. So it turns out that once I started and did my research, I had to go back to Home Depot and ask them to sell me what they had left in that specific. But what I was realizing is all along this path, I know I'm in partnership with Baba doing this. I know I'm in a partnership. It's so I'm waiting for Baba to show me what's going on. But all I can do is a little bit of what Gabriella said, and that's kind of what Darwin's talking about, is kind of let go and have that faith. So I'm finding that it does work. It's kind of like having the gears all lubricated. Even if I think I'm shifting gears, Baba really knows where the heck the car is going. I really sometimes don't, or I don't see a disaster in the road ahead of me. So, but it's there. But I know that from what I can sense and feel about it, like intuitively, I want to be there all the time, but I'm not. I fall right back into what am I doing? What do I want? Blah, blah, blah. Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks.
it gets better. Definitely. I mean, less of guesswork and more of your heart gets cleared up a little bit, where you can catch the intuitions much more accurately. So let's go on to the next section. It's nice to see Shri there. You feel like reading something?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Nice to see you as well.
Dare to take a stand, yeah.
Changing our paradigm means taking our stand on the truth within, the highest truth we know within ourselves, as Baba exhorts us to do. We have to assert our infinite nature, our higher nature, which means to identify and cooperate with the spirit level of our being. This calls for great daring. Instead of taking our stand on the shifting sands of samskaras, we take our stand on the truth within. We do this by asserting the truth within and denying the false. And this is the skill of right thinking. We must dare to engage in rightful thinking in order to get breakthroughs towards the truth, rather than hope that the truth is going to magically drop in on us sometime. This means that instead of asserting all the false values we have been in the habit of maintaining all our lives, we have to be courageous and assert the truth within our consciousness, especially in our hearts, which is where we experience illusory restrictions and conditions and do the work of replacing them with higher values. This is a refining process that we undergo. Working with a variety of means and methods that we are conscious of, we see where we can exchange weakness for strength in our hearts, and illusion for more and more of the truth. We pull back our tentacles of sanskaric fulfillment and instead work to uncreate sanskaric veils and ego definitions. The truth within can become our criteria for sorting and exchanging values. We measure those values against the truth and make choices along the way. Thus, taking our stand on the truth within is a shortcut for dissolving our subjective and self-created false world. We become true seekers. We see the falseness of the false and detach ourselves from it. We cling to the truth, and when we put into practice, more truth will be revealed. If we stop this progress, we fall back into the original paradigm. All of this is a part of inner discipleship, discovering more and more what can be accomplished through faith and daring. This means opening up the heart more, and even the act of asserting faith opens up the heart. We dare to go out into the unknown at the inner level, dare to draw closer to Baba inwardly, and dare to draw away from the limited self. Through faith and daring, we open up the heart center and take our stand on the truth within, and this leads us out of the dual realm and into the inner path of love. Meher Baba says, learn the art of taking your stand on the truth within. When you live in this truth, the result is the fusion of the mind and the heart and the end of all fears and sorrow. It is not a dry attainment of mere power or intellectual knowledge. A love which is illumined by the intuitive wisdom of the Spirit will bless your life with ever-renewing fulfillment and never-ending sweetness. As always, this is not a work that we are doing by ourselves. We are doing it under the guidance and with the inner help of Meher Baba, the Divine Beloved. He is constantly supporting us and helping us. Through him and his divine love grace, everything becomes possible.
Good, thank you. Now, what do you people take as being the higher values? What would you say the higher values that, I mean, Baba says to stand on the truth within. What is that truth that is within? I mean, how do you, what are the colors of that truth? What does it look like? Anyone want to venture what the what the higher values are? They're the lower values. We know those, but in any given situation, we can kind of act from our conditioning, react, or we can respond from a higher level. But what are we responding? Where's that? What are we trying to tune into? There he is. Josh, I don't know if you got your.
Yeah, not able,
There you go.
not able to hear you, Josh.
Anybody can read lips? Okay, he's passing on that. Well, I'm going to surprise Goer. You know, what is this meant by the higher values, the living in the truth? Because that can seem rather abstract unless we give some practical definition to it.
Well, I guess for me, it's just trusting in Baba. That's all. If I give it to him, then I know that he's going to take over and lead me to where I'm supposed to go. And it's just fully trusting in him. And that has always brought me great satisfaction, great healing when I need that. Just, in other words, it has led me to the right place every time when I've asked for his help. And I know that it's there. It's just fully trusting in him. That's all I can say.
Yeah. But when you turn to that truth within, to him within, what do
Yes.
you, what are you receiving? Some aspect of love, generosity, kindness, patience.
All
Is
of that, depending on the situation and
Yeah.
what I'm going through at the moment. Yes. All of the above, as you say, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patience, love, kindness, healing, direction in the right, to go in the right path, to go on the right path. All of that.
Yeah.
It just
Courage,
courage. Yes.
humor.
That-
But in other words, the context is what defines what you draw from Baba, to
Correct.
meet that situation. Is that
Correct.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, okay.
Terry,
I think also staying in the now, the present is really helpful, not going back or forward, but staying really present, using, Baba's intuition that he gives to you. It's just being in the now. And it's not always easy to do, but if you can do
Yeah.
it, you can go with them all the time.
Yeah. Is there an example you can give of where you came to a situation and you, in the present, in over your head, but you kind of made an appeal to Baba?
Well, I think I'm always in a little bit over my head, but if I if I ask for, his guidance, I don't know if I shared this here, but we have that picture. Oh yeah, I did, because I said we have that picture. It's like I just go in and talk with him and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing and try to let go of the anxiety and the fear and all the other stuff that's inside that doesn't serve me, and be kind and gentle and loving. And usually it works out, but I can't tell you 100% of the time.
Yeah. But you're making that appeal and you get something from him that
Always.
that responds to the situation.
Mhm.
Since we have the mic over here in the Venice Beach area, I'm going to jump in. I think we shared the story that we heard at the Sahavas at Marana, where one of the twins was saying that Mani had said that Baba will not perform miracles. He will not fix things. You will still have your challenges and your obstacles, but he'll be there with you.
Holding your hand through it.
And knowing that I'm not alone with anything has
Yeah.
given me room to breathe. So I don't have as much angst. And if I continue to, as you say, take the plates out of that big, you keep taking, or slice an onion and you peel and there's still another onion and more and more and more, it does dissipate a bit. I mean, maybe in doggy years,
Yeah.
anti-doggy years.
Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sri,
I think for me, it means two things. On one, like the first half of it is when you talk about like the higher truth. To me, that's always been loving people, even when you don't want to or don't feel like it, which Bob always says, like, you love me best when you love people that you on a material level don't really harbor a lot of love toward, because that's when you understand, or that's when you're practicing that they're God as well and they're him. But I think the other part of that for me is learning how to prioritize your own happiness in a way. And I think I mean that on a, not like a material happiness, but like an inner level of energy type happiness when you are in situations. And I think you should like listen to yourself more, or at least the reason I've been a little MIA is because I've had the situation going on in my life where I had to make a really difficult decision. And I think at the end of the day, I made it because it felt like it was the thing that resonated with me the best energetically for myself. And I think when you don't listen to yourself and you don't do what's best for yourself, you're ultimately doing God a disservice. And, you know, in life, when you're able to feel your emotions better and just be in a better mental state, ultimately that's just doing God a favor. And by doing God a favor, I mean it's easier for you to have more channels open to him. At least for me it is. And so I take a look at the higher truth thing as both, one, acting with kindness and love to all those around you, but especially people that maybe you might not want to, but also showing that kindness and happiness for yourself too, because at the end of the day, you deserve the best for yourself, because that's the way that you're able to maintain this physical body to be able to connect with Baba.
Yeah, beautiful. I know it's fascinating, all these inner ways that we have to try to, to access the deeper part of ourselves from Baba and then be able to manifest it in this world, express it. Yeah.
Gabe.
J Baba, one and all, great to
Yeah.
see you. I look to Baba for the things that I can't generate myself. I seem to have an abundance of impatience or judgment. I don't need to go to Baba for that stuff, but for joy sometimes, for peace or patience, love, the things you can't get from Amazon. Those are the things that only God Baba provides. And so I think generosity, those kinds of things are what I need to connect to Baba for. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking to Baba for.
There's a line from Rumi where he says, without need, God gives nothing. When you need love, to realize you need love in a situation and you make that appeal, then the love comes. But it's hard to feel the need, but when you feel the need, it draws the love that will fit that situation.
I had a little thought, because not long ago I was thinking, maybe this is sort of flipping it around a little bit. If we are all God, if we are all manifestations of Baba, then when I'm moving through my life or sitting through my life, every time it sort of tunes me in a little bit differently into a situation, that if I'm the vehicle to manifest Baba's energy here, then that offers a different way of looking at how I'm not doing that, which maybe is like not tuning into his intention. It's like I'm getting in the way and I'm just being this personality in this human body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's the dilemma there is somehow you know what that divine energy is, that love, and then you can tell when you're kind of blocking it, when you're a little more of a vehicle for it. I mean, one of the most common things that Darwin used to say is you have to become a conduit rather than a base of operations. For most of our life, I'm in charge of me. and I, you know, and I operate from that. But you move to where you become a vehicle or a conduit, and in that way, that's an entirely different paradigm. You know, and then you can see what's blocking things. In other words, we don't want to glorify the flute. We want to make the, you know, we want to glorify the music that's coming through the flute. You know, so okay.
Rich.
I have a short thought, and Anne kind of hit on it there, but I've often wondered about what is Baba's manifestation. And you know, from an ego point of view, oh, 3/4 of the world will be destroyed. Oh, whatever. But I think more in terms of the avatar, of his reality, the only one who is real. I think his manifestation is exactly what Darwin's talking about here. As we move from our ego-centered manipulation of our dream or his dream into Baba, then Baba manifests. That's Baba manifesting. And as more and more and more of the world and of humanity follows into that, and it will happen, then Baba is manifesting more and more and more at large, because he's already here. We just have to do what Darwin's talking about. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Kitty used to say, you know, this that 3/4 of the world will be destroyed. She felt 3/4 that it could be 3/4 of human selfishness gets destroyed. It doesn't necessarily have to be only Colorado or Florida. No. No. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, I just wrote this down because when I start talking, I get carried away. The truth within, when I surrendered to Baba, I realized and accepted that he's truly God in human form. And when I accepted that, I realized that everything that happens is because Baba's working through me or some lesson that I need to learn. And so I'm not so upset by these things that happen to me all the time, like stubbing my toe or getting lost and driving around the Amazon Prime warehouse for 2 hours. And anyway, it makes life easier if you really have total faith. And I found that because I've totally surrendered to God and I accept it, that I don't have to worry, because he told us if we worry, then I won't worry for you. So I said, well, you take over. Says he wants, I can't understand why he wanted to be he really wants to do everything. I mean, he wants to be in charge of everything is the way I look at it. I could be wrong. I'm not done. Within the silence day, when I had silence day, after silence day, and it was the first silence day that I really wanted to be silent and felt that I had this inner voice in me, and it was Baba. And when like today, I had a choice to go out and do this stuff, and I'm starting to say, no, I want to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere, because I have more contact with Baba. I mean, I go out and do stuff. I'm not a hermit, but when you're private with him, you know, and you stop having all this stuff going on from the mind, then you know he's really with you. And yeah, and I listen. Sometimes I just sing now in my mind instead of, you know, speaking out. But anyway, I think I'm almost done. Like, I bow down to Baba every night almost, right? And I have a hernia that's not going to go away, and it hurts. So the other day, last night, instead of bowing down, I looked at him and I said, you told us that you're not into rituals, so Jai Baba, I'm not bowing down. So I'm not, I said I did the best I can, but that's all you can do is just turn it over. You know, if you really believe in God and you turn it over, then all this intellectual stuff is really good because it brings us closer to each other. But Baba says you don't need to understand me. Don't try to understand me, because I'm in such a different space, you know, and his time, he'll do things for us if we need it, but his time is not our time. He's got different time, and I have different time than people have to work. Everybody's got their own time. Jai Baba.
Yeah, I think I like your homemade version of your relationship with Bob. That's the beautiful thing. We can design it the way we want and make it fun instead of, there's no kind of set way. You know, Baba says, I am whatever you take me to be. I mean, if you want him to be a rabbit jumping around in the room there with you, he will do that. I mean, I'm not saying that's kind of a little far-fetched, but he will be, you know, he'll be the one to love you the way you like to be loved. So let's go on to the next.
You know, one more thing. He told you, when you love him, then he loves you. You love each other because he's you know, he's in us. So that loving is like, it's just a big embrace, you know? It's like, sometimes it's hard and we've got life things that happen, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you think that this hand over here is different from that one. Hey, wait, get away from me. I'm the one that does writes the checks here. Get away. But it's just both hands cut in the same body. But we think, oh no, this hand is, Bob is over here and I'm over there. You know, we're two different hands, but we're operating from the same place. There's only one person operating the us. Okay, Jay Sema. The next one is, this is a difficult one for some reason for me, but go ahead. Let's see. Bob, are you, can you get on your computer?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm still on my phone. My computer isn't fixed yet, but I've got the book, so I can read this, I think.
Yeah,
We're on combining the opposites.
exactly, yeah.
The spiritual path is strewn with paradoxes, and truth itself combines the opposites. For example, it is simple yet complex, fluidic yet stable. To transcend the opposites, Meher Baba emphasizes the combining of certain opposites, like the two poles of a battery. Combining the opposites is more an attitude than an action. For example, humility and boldness, self-effacement while maintaining self-esteem, total detachment and yet love for everything, infinite patience and infinite longing. The ultimate paradox is our being everything and yet nothing. Naturally, we do not try to combine all of the opposites, only those necessary for effacing the I. By combining certain of the opposites, we are working toward integration of our forces and also, paradoxically, striving to give up everything. The combination creates a balance of the opposites. The tension of the paradox creates a current, releasing the locked energy, creating momentum and canceling out both of the opposites. The effort is that we are bringing together two forces, a positive and a negative, which ignite and create energy, and together with the self-denial that is part of the spiritual path, precipitate the consciousness to a higher level. However, if you act on one of them, the current is diffused.
So have we got anybody that can explain that? Somebody that's maybe even a little more scientific minded? Oh, I mean, from a actual example. I mean, it is true, kind of like when you think of yourself. I mean, Darwin used to say, you know, sooner or later you discover you're nobody, and that is not an unhappy experience. That is not an unhappy discovery. Meaning that, but in thinking that you're nobody, somehow you tap into great love. How can that be? You know, when you're like truly humble, the love of the universe flows toward you. So there you're getting, you know, the two quite being empty, and yet when you're really empty, love fills you. So they're like quite different you know, they're opposites, and yet what a powerful force is created, you know. But anybody can, I have to, I've had too many beverages, and I'm going to have to slip out for one moment. But think of if someone can come up with an example, and I'll be listening.
Great.
Well, Jeff, when you said a scientific or practical example, but I found this woman on YouTube who was speaking of how electricity was discovered in the world. It's really a remarkable story. It involves a lot of primarily men who are simply geniuses of some kind, and they kind of stepped up their intrigue and their interest and their discoveries on top of each other. But it's pretty interesting. But evidently what the theory of electricity is, it's not, the way I see it, it's not really the electron moving in a circle. It's a electromagnetic force that gyrates the electron, maybe from one atom to another. So apparently we talk about it as electrons moving, but it's the electromagnetic force. So imagine what that is it's a current moving from pole to pole, right? From pole to pole, north to south, positive, negative. It's a current that creates the movement in the wire to generate this electric force. And so it's the actual electromagnetic force by turning a magnet inside of a magnetic field or whatever to generate this current. So along the wire, there's a current. So if your psyche is doing positive and negative, somehow you're generating a current that carries you out of just black and white. Something like that.
Yeah. You know, one thing that occurs to me is that I remember one time in Mondley Hall, Erich said, you know, what does it mean to hold on to Baba's Daman? And, you know, people all kind of gave answers to that. Went on for about 45 minutes. And in the end, he said, holding on to his form. Now, you think, focusing on something finite, focusing on Baba's form, actually you which is kind of narrowing everything down, you expand. How can that be? You know, I mean, but it's a fact. If you focus on Baba's form, you become larger, and your inner being expands. It's because there's something magical about that form. But there you get some opposite, you know, a paradox. But anyone,
Marcia?
If you have one action that's very positive and then something later happens, maybe 5 minutes later, it's negative, those two things kind of negate each other. So I'm thinking about karma being balanced so you don't create anything new, kind of like you're really happy and then something happens and anyway, I try to think of an example. Last week I volunteered for some people to come in town and stay with me in my house with 4 dogs, and I have a dog. And I said, great, you know, fine, I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden the negatives after I thought about it came to me like, what did I do? You know, watching the dogs, I got a couch, are they going to go on the couch? And I said, all right, I'm going to let it go. And then 2 days later, it ended up that they called up and said they weren't coming. But like if I would have attached to it and maybe held on to the idea that it was going to be bad, I think it's just like all these situations show up to see how we react to them. And that's the whole issue, is how do we engage in all the things that Baba throws at us, you know? Like right now, if you're dealing with ants, do you pour poison on them? Do you step on them? What do you do so you don't get into ant war? You know, all kinds of things. So you have to take the best solution that doesn't harm anybody. I think that's what he means when he says, try not to harm anybody. But anyway, I might be going off, so I'm going to stop.
yeah, no, it's, I think it's valuable to hear all these different ways that we try to describe that inner link that we have with Baba. Now, let's see.
I think, Jeff, I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand on this phone, but can I just
Yeah,
say one quick thing? It seems to me that this combining the opposites might in some way be the mechanics of the last section we read about taking a stand on the truth within. I mean, for instance, when one feels angry or impatient, instead of expressing that, expressing kindness or patience or tolerance, so that when Baba makes that statement about swallowing anger, you know what I mean? So that what's being expressed is the opposite of what one might be feeling. So, okay, that's my idea.
yeah, no, it's, I just, we could, yeah. Hey, well, let's go on to the next section. Did we, patience and longing, speaking about it. How about Diane with a Y?
Why? Patience and longing?
Yeah.
In the discourses, Mayor Baba gives the example of intense longing plus perfect patience. Baba says that after we discover the falsity of the creation, we must have such intense longing for the truth that it overcomes and burns up all these baser desires and inclinations. But at the same time, we have to have an infinite patience. Our intense longing is to see God, to long for the presence of the beloved. But on the other hand, we must have complete detachment and be so patient that we could quietly stand back and wait for 1,000,000 years. It is hard to imagine having both of these elements in our consciousness at the same time, but that is what Baba is saying. Combining these opposites creates a positive and negative dynamic in the consciousness, which engenders the emergence of energy. This changes our voltage, raising our consciousness out of the inertia of the gross level to the subtle realm, which is the realm of energy. It's as if we have a helicopter within us, but we must first start the motor. We already have within the means to rise out of gross consciousness, but we need to dare to ignite the engine. Combining the opposites activates the ignition. By putting positive and negative together, energy is created and we rise. It is a natural growth, not something that can be artificially imposed upon anyone, and a tremendous amount of grace is involved. Mayor Baba says, it is only when there is a balance between infinite longing and infinite patience that the aspirant can ever hope to pierce through the veil of the limited mind. And this combination of extremes can only come through the grace of a perfect master. At the higher level, we are willing to relinquish our lives and be born again. At the level of the spirit that is born into our subtle and mental spiritual bodies, we discover the fact that we are not the gross body, but that we are the spirit, and as spirit, we are already infinite. As this happens, the heart and spirit become free, and we become to see the light and experience expansion of consciousness and know that we are timeless, that we are immortal. All of this unfolds within. We begin to share in the consciousness of the beloved and realize that we are part of his being. Hey, Baba.
Wow. You know, it's interesting, like when you give up, when you fast, and most people find this, when you fast and you deny yourself food and nutrition, sometimes you feel great energy, you know, just so there you're denying, you know, one desire, and it's or a need, and you get a tremendous amount of energy as a result. And through meditation also, you get a lot of energy because you're not doing your habitual things. You're stopping the habitual, and it creates, it engenders a great deal of energy. Aha.
Yeah.
So the concept of patience, I've heard a couple people already tonight talk about what a challenge that is, I think, for all of us. Because I think that's when we're trying to be in the driver's seat and we want it on our timeline. One of my favorite quotes is John Lennon saying, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." And then I heard last week that Baba says, find the, I might be making this up, but it's how my twisted brain came up with it, that every delay is a gift from Baba. And I think for me, when things get delayed, and that means I have to step back and remind myself that I'm not in the driver's seat, that I'm not in control. And then I think of all the things that have happened so great because things got delayed, that never would have happened if they weren't delayed and they had gone on my timeline. But I never had the bigger picture. So I just thought I would throw that
Yeah,
into.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's
Barsha.
I was just reading in one of the books, and but God says he don't making plans is there's no plan. You know, you can plan, but the plan always changes. Nothing's like what you expect it to be. And then if you go with the change, yeah, it's okay. But like I made a plan today, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I didn't care because I didn't want to do anything anyway. So it worked out really good, you know. But I'm trying not to make plans that much anymore. Only if I have to, you know. Yeah.
yeah. Or let your intuition make your plans, and that's hard. Let's see if we could get Tony activated here, but we don't know. He may not know the subject. But we're talking about, Darwin was talking about how the opposites, facing the opposites, produce a tremendous amount of energy. You know, the opposites of infinite patience and infinite longing, you know, various things like that. Wanting something and then having to frustrate it by not allowing it. Anyway, let's see.
I don't have a lot of patience, so every time Baba teaches me a lesson to be patient and to detach from things. Few weeks back, I was dealing with an issue from Judy Robertson in our group in Seattle. She sends emails to my Hotmail account, and those were not being received. So I opened a support case with Microsoft, and then I opened a support case with Rediff because Judy uses Rediff mail. And then it started that the problem, each one started blaming each other party, saying that it is not my issue, it's other issue. So Microsoft says this is not our issue. And Rediff says this is not our issue, why you are not getting emails from her. So I lost all the patience. I went to Twitter and I lambasted Microsoft saying that you are a world-class company and you're not able to solve a simple problem. And I told Mayor Prasad, my brother, I said, your company needs to do much better customer service. So finally, this went on for almost 2 weeks. I was in between them. So I told Microsoft, why don't you guys talk to Rediff Mail? And Microsoft says, we don't talk to third-party mails. So then I went to Rediff and say, can you guys talk to Microsoft? And they said, well, we can't talk to Microsoft either. We don't talk to third-party these things. So finally, one last email comes from Microsoft and they said, we want to archive the case. We want to close the case. And they said, fine, close the case. I don't care. But at the last result, they asked me, can you ask Rediff to send some logs? And so I go back to Rediff and say, Microsoft says this is a problem on your side. So see if you can solve this problem, otherwise close the case. Because at that time, by that time, I lost completely my patience, and I said, like, I'm not going to deal with this issue. I'm going to be detached. And they said, Baba, it's your wish. And I sent an email back to Judy saying that it is his wish. They want to test. Can you send me a test email? The moment I said that, all her emails started coming to my Hotmail account. Then I said, oh, this is how he teaches me patience and detachment.
Yeah. Patience is one of the more difficult things because that means that you're not going to get your way. You know, you might get your way, but you're not always going to, the world isn't going to just accommodate what we want. That's the damn thing. Let's see. So,
Jeff,
yeah.
Jeff, the question, wouldn't patience be ultimate surrender?
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you something from Darwin. Darwin was about 95 at the time. We were in the refectory. And Darwin never really shared where he, you know, his experience. I mean, you could read between the lines that he knew what he was talking about, but he didn't say what his experience was. So anyway, but here he's about 95. I've known him for about 30 some odd years. And I never really kind of asked him, but I said, we were sitting there and Baba kind of gave me this approach. I said, Darwin, you have a lot of rare wine in your cellar. And if you die, it's just going to go to your relatives. I think we should just bring it up and enjoy it now. You've been with Baba for the last 70 years, focusing on him year in and year out, day in and day, moment to moment. What is your experience now? Now, somehow the lead in kind of, he got a chuckle out of it. But this is what he said. Just as you breathe in and out all day, and you don't say, now it's time to inhale, now it's time to exhale, now it's time to inhale, eventually life just unfolds. And you're not trying to get things to go this way or that way. And so you let go, he said, therefore consciousness is freed up at the level of the world. You're no longer trying to use your consciousness to get things to go certain ways. It goes up to the level of the spirit, out to the far corners of the universe, and you live in and through everyone. I mean, it's like, wow, this wizened old gentleman on the other side of the table, you know, this is what he was sitting on. But his consciousness had, the tentacles of his consciousness had, it got them up out of the forcing things to go this way or that. He had let go, kind of like Diane was saying, surrender. He had let go and let life go where it's going to go. And so then his consciousness was freed up and it just expands to the far corners of the universe. That's where we're heading, folks. We're gonna get that one day. But in the meantime, we're down here and we went, oh God, go this way, Baba, I want to go this way. No, that way. Oh. And so when we give up all of our wants, then we let go and really then love really flows. We're not
Jeff,
narrowing things down.
Can you hear me now, Jeff?
Yeah.
I just wanted to share something that you made me think about in the discussion of the patience and the longing and the way that you described it. So for a while, I've been struggling a little bit with a pretty intense longing to be with Baba. And I think it's coming out through like just an obvious, you know, seeking other Baba lovers, being with Baba lovers on Zoom or whatever. And there's an opposite feeling or a perception of an opposite feeling in the spiritual community that I'm a part of, because it takes up a lot of my time, which I love. So there's like love for both things. And it's a long story, but today something happened. I've just been trying really, you know, to work with that patience. And today, and I feel like I've been surrendering to it pretty well, though it's definitely been work, internal work. And today something happened, which was just so Baba. I'm coming to the center on Labor Day weekend with a couple of other people from the community here. And, you know, when that kind of a trip happens, it always like stirs up a lot for me. But today, the office manager that works at the temple, who's relatively new to the temple, like maybe a year and a half or something like that. And he's just like fits in really well, but yet really speaks his mind, is really interesting guy. He essentially invited himself to come with us on the trip. And so to me, it was just kind of like, I don't know if it makes sense to everyone because it's so contextual, but it was just like my mind was blown, and I could go on about like the background of how it all unfolded, but anyways, that's all I really need to say. And I think he's going to come, so we'll see. But it just to me was like, wow, I would have never imagined that. And so it was just kind of like Baba makes things happen in a way that, like you said, you have to let things unfold because you can't imagine the best reality, or the best way that your life should unfold because it's in Baba's hands.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting. One of the reasons, Baba said that, America has great energy, even though he said it's, primarily misdirected. But by bringing in all these different nationalities, different racial groups, there was everybody had to stretch to accommodate the Italians, to accommodate the Greeks, the Jews, and everything. Everybody had to stretch. There's a lot of commotion, but in that stretching, there's a tremendous amount of energy that's released, and I find with people, when you have to stretch, you become a larger person, but they're the growing pains of loving those who, I think it was somebody said, loving those whom you cannot love. There's a lot of stretching that goes on, but you get a lot, you really do, you have to expend a lot of energy to stretch, but once you're stretched, you're that much larger, you know,
Yeah.
and you can have, anyway, we just, anyway, it must be getting kind of late. I have no idea what time it is. Let's see. Anybody have the time on the East Coast?
11:11.
11:11.
Oh,
Make
that's
a
a good
wish.
number. Anybody know numerology? What does 11:11 mean?
10:4.
There's some my brother who passed away signals my niece. Every time she looks at the clock, it's 11:11. It's funny, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of that. Hey, here's a beautiful quote. Now maybe we'll have a few moments of silence. This is it's a Sufi with an unpronounceable name, so I won't even attempt it. But this is this is how it's translated. If you were to be united with him only after the extinction of your vices and the effacement of your pretensions, you would never be united with him. Instead, when he wants to unite you to himself, he covers your attribute with his attribute and hides your quality with his quality. And thus he unites you to himself by virtue of what comes from him to you, not by virtue of what goes from you to him. So now oh, wait just a second.
Jeff, does that mean that Meher Baba is trying to become Jeff Wolverton? Is that
Yeah, he's trying to efface me. He's trying to eclipse me and eclipse all of us. Basically, I am plagiarizing Baba. I'm saying that this thing right here is me. But eventually, we'll realize it was never me. I just came along and said it was me. But it's really him playing the role of an ignorant guy that cleans cabins and wanders around on the center. So let's have a few moments of silence. If somebody has, sometimes Goer has a quote or somebody. Oh, wait, no, we got Gabriella. Would you have a poem there? We can't hear you though.
All right, here's a poem just recently done, a recent poem. You want it now or after the silence?
Do it now and then we'll have the silence. Yeah.
It's called Snapshot. Time under torture folds itself into a dough, compressed and sticky. But when was time texture? And how could it be reduced to the mundane quality of food? In essence, time is an airy thing, strings and strings of it, transcendent in beauty. Time is beauty, for it is nothing at all, and nothing is pure loveliness. It takes great mutilation of the cosmos to bring time down to the level we live in. And while I've been hard pressed under its heel these days, I hold a soft memory of what time once meant to me. Like the man in the moon's face when I was young, the sweetness of time returns to me, an old relationship, richer for the wafting, a gift not forgotten. In these difficult days, I gulp and gasp under time's petulant treatment. Finally, Baba speaks to me. Time is this and that too. Time is the dirt under your shoe, and it is the rainbow glow you see behind the dark of my eyes. He stops for a moment that adds most personally. Remember, Gabriella, how you learned long ago, when you cannot run, run inside, or let the breeze run about you for singing. These were lessons about space, but now I show you a snapshot about time. Let a smile crush your heart into thousands of lemony moments. Make the acid of those moments an astringent to scour your wounds. As such, time is born and dies in your purification. As he receded from me, his warm smile disappeared last, and time tumbled about me in soft tresses.
Beautiful. Let's have a few moments of silence.
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Thank you all for sharing, articulating the inarticulable. But that's what kind of poetry is, and you know, trying to put into words our interior, what's going on there, and it's lovely to hear it. Yeah. There's a quote that's been going around, and I think most of you have heard it, but where Baba says, I tell you, don't worry, be happy. Why? Because I know the ending, and the ending is beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess that scares me that there's actually an ending.
It's an endless ending.
But that's a whole nother Jeff Wolverton night session.
Any last moment remarks? Anything that occurs to somebody?
Just thank you.
Yeah. So are you down there also in Gainesville?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably see Anthony every once in a while just on the side of the road.
Yeah, I do
We'll work,
actually.
we'll work for pay.
While he's running, while he's exercising and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all scattered in the woods out here around Temple of the Universe. It's just people wouldn't even know all this exists out here. It's just that
Mhm.
everybody kind of living in the area. It's really, really kind of neat. I feel like the temple's like an extension of Mayher Center. It's just incredible, all the synchronicities that have lined up with the two places. So
Mhm.
who knows what Baba did with that.
Yeah, hope to see you in a few weeks, Jeff.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yep. I will be here. Who all is coming?
Bianca and Eric,
Mm-hmm.
Lauren and Brian, and hopefully Anthony.
Yeah.
Ao. The new person is Ao. His name is Ao, and he's amazing. So yeah, I forgot him. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the cabins are even air conditioned.
Woohoo!
Some of
that's awesome. Jay Baba.
Yeah, Jay Baba.
Thank you,
Lauren,
Jeff. Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Have a nice week, Shani. Wonderful to
Hi.
see you.
Oh, yes, it was just the witching hour, so I was on silent and everything. But can you say that last quote again?
Which one?
The one about worry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Baba says, I tell you, don't worry, be happy. Why? Because I know the ending, and the ending is beautiful.
Thank you.
You know how you go, when you take a flight and you go up through the heavy cloud cover and everything, but once you get above the clouds, it's sunlight everywhere.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And eventually we're going to come up through all these veils inside of us and hit that pure sunlight. It's everybody, it's just a matter of time. Yeah. Okay. Well, you all go and lead successful lives. I hope you become famous and we'll read about you in the newspapers, magazines.
Jeff, I just want to say how nice it is to see so many young faces in your chat. It seems as time goes on, we're youthening here.
Yeah. No, that. Yeah.
Who is Ann Mesritz?
That's me.
That's Ann. Yeah.
I know, but who are you? Where are you?
Nobody.
Oh my God! Again?
No,
There's
I
activists here.
first, did you ever know Mary Lloyd Dugan? She was the one that drew me into Mayor Baba.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually met Jeff on the center the first time I was there, and everybody seemed like I'd known them before. And I don't remember what it was you said, but it was something along, you just grinned and said something, the meaning I took from it was, well, yeah, of course, if you're with Baba, we're all familiar. I'm not saying it well, but there was.
Yeah. No, we've been running into each other for lifetimes.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time we've been together.
I just can't remember your name in the last 3 lifetimes. That's all.
Yeah.
Don't take offense.
MLD.
It's like he pulled us all back together because we were like puzzle pieces floating around, and now we're all connecting again.
Yeah, because I had many years of drift. Baba, I've always had his pictures around. But I was very involved in the Thich Nhat Hanh community and practice, which really supplements Baba.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful fit. And then about a month and a half ago, I said, I've been futzing around with my art forever. I'm going to make a real commitment to it. Stop worrying about whether it's good or bad or goes anywhere. Just do it. And within like 2 days, I was going to bed and I looked at Baba's little picture, that beautiful one of him holding, is it the baby goat or baby lamb?
Yeah.
It's always on my bedstand. And I looked at him and I said, I miss you, because I didn't have a sense of his presence. Well, you know what happens next. The next morning was like the floodgates. And I got back in touch with Pamela Butler Stone and Daniel Stone, who had been good friends in Washington, and a few other people. And it's so nice to be home again. And I was listening to that interview Daniel had, and your chat came up as the next one after it. And I went, well, that's perfect. I was in a sauna that didn't fit very well online with Thich Nhat Hanh here in the Detroit area. So I came tonight and it's wonderful. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, and Darwin's book it kind of evokes a lot of discussion about the inner life.
What is the name of the book? Is that the one that just came out, or?
Effort and Grace.
Okay, thanks.
Effort and Grace. Yeah, there's goers holding it up. You can see.
Well, I can order that from Sherry R Books, right?
Well, no, but because there's a whole history of why it's. But if you can, shoot, where's a pen? If you can give me your address, I'll send you a copy.
Sure. You mean physical address, or do you want to email me the PDF? That would be fine too.
Oh, well, yeah, the PDF, JSEMA can give that to you. The PDF.
You just put it in the chat.
You just put it in the chat right there.
Okay, is that Gail who put it in?
I guess so.
It says Gail to everyone, and then there's let me check and see if this is it. Yeah, that's it, issue.com. Great.
Good.
Thank you. Super.
It's only 120 pages, but it's
infinitely long in depth.
Yeah, and it's a tour guide of someone who actually has made the tour, And
It's really like Baba psychology for the internal seeker, for the inner seeker.
Yeah.
That's what I.
There's this thing that happened during the meeting I wanted to mention, but it's like totally back to the book again. But it was just right after Darwin talked about diving in with faith, walking out on the branch, the limb of faith. And immediately he talked about standing on the truth within. And I was making the connection that somehow when I take that act of faith or leap in, it seems like a leap, right? You're going off the deep end, your faith, you're instantly standing on the truth within. So you may think you're gonna fall from that, but then he just put those right next to each other. And I really like that.
Yeah.
So you're safe. You're standing on the truth within when you're in faith and you jump in.
Well, I gotta go.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, that whole idea of standing on the truth taking your stand on the truth within really requires a whole lot of plumbing the depth of that. I'll tell you, like, one of the things that I found immensely helpful, I mean, Darwin talked about going from the mind down to the heart, and then from the heart to the soul. So what is how do you get from the heart to the soul? And the metaphor that Baba gave me one time when I was in India is you know, when you pass a sunlight through a prism, it's refracted into all these colors. And Baba says those colors are really identical with the sunlight. You know, it's exactly the same. And so when we, at the depth of us, we are divine love itself. And when that divine love passes through the deeper realm of our heart, which is like a prism, is refracted into the divine qualities, the divinely human qualities of patience, kindness, empathy, you know, humor, courage, honesty. All of are better angels. And if you take any one of those divinely human qualities and follow them downstream, you will arrive at the ocean of divine love. So if you take patience and you go all the way down, follow it to the depths of you, you'll be at the divine ocean. If you take humor, it'll take you to that same ocean. So the transition from the heart to the soul is through the divinely human qualities that are really our better angels. And shifting from lust, greed, anger, selfishness, all of the kind of conditioning to those divine qualities, which are not emotions. They are really love in as it percolates into our deeper heart. So
I have a little story.
Beautiful.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that's a beautiful image. Thank you.
yeah, who was that?
Well, it's Gabriella again.
Oh,
I'm just-
Gabriella. Okay, yeah.
got me.
Yeah,
Still-
it's
Well, I just had a story about something that happened here. Like there was this woman here who works, she's at night, she's one of the night nurses. And I was always scared of her. I kind of didn't want to be around her. Didn't like her vibe at all. And, you know, I just started to stay away from her. Well, I mean, but I'd need something and I'd have to ask, you know, could you please turn me over or something like that in the bed? So she came in. One time I was pushing the button, you know, to come, and I thought I was waiting a while and nothing, and then I pushed it again, and then she came in and she starts sort of berating me, you know, and she says, "Why are you pushing your button? Every time you push your button, I have to leave another patient and interrupt it." And so I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in pain." And she goes, "Everybody on this hall is in pain." And she just sort of laid into me, right? And at that moment, I just saw her clearly. And instead of seeing the fear, I liked her so much while she was berating me. Like, and in the past, I would have not liked that. I would have run away. My ego wouldn't have liked it. But Baba like gave me the eyes to see this woman. She was trying to help all these people, not just me. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "I won't push the button again. I'll just wait till you can come." And then when she came, like it was like something had changed between us completely. And now she's kind of a wild person, but she comes in and she tells me that we prayed together, like we had these really beautiful moments together. So it just, Baba turned it all around by, you know, he let me see something, which I don't know how he does that, but he
Yeah.
changes me. Really.
Yeah,
So.
beautiful. I mean, these are the little moments of grace, I would say, that happen that are kind of beyond our capabilities, and yet they descend into our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think when we start relating to each person as Baba, if we can do it, I have a hard time with it, but like I try to see Baba in Tony Paternini. It's really an effort, but it works. I don't know how.
Yeah. Everybody is Baba in disguise.
That's it.
And eventually you do kind of see through the disguise. But I mean, there are moments when you can actually see, oh my God, that is Baba acting like that young teenager, you know, walking down down the sidewalk with her head in the air, you know, full of wild oats, whatever, you know, you get, it's a beautiful thing. But you have to kind of get beyond right and wrong, good and bad, virtue and vice, loving, unloving, all of those mental constructions that that block the sight. Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
yeah, I have something. I have
Oh, go ahead.
something
Yeah.
after Richard's comment. It reminded me of I was in a group a Baba group, but it got really weird, and I didn't feel very safe, so I was withdrawing a lot. I really kind of kept my inner being to myself, and it seemed like I was maybe timid or shy, and I even thought I was. But one of the guys in the group who was like an IBM salesman, and he was a big brash business type guy, and we were at some like kind of a party, a get together at someone's apartment, and he's laughing at the way I seem so timid, and he said, you know, I can picture Baba in a big giving darshan to the masses and saying, I see myself in everyone and everything. And then looking at me and saying, somehow I can't see myself in you. He made the point.
That was Michael Levy, wasn't it? Michael Levy?
I wasn't going to name him, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I know this is running kind of late. I'll tell you a very interesting thing that happened to me. Jean Shaw'w, that Darwin's wife, she had a lot of physical discomfort, and food was disagreeable, and the chairs were uncomfortable, and she had a lot of complaints. and Darwin would. Jean would come down to the center from upstate New York about a month before Darwin would come, and I would pick her up at the airport. So I picked her up at the airport, and in the car she's complaining about the air conditioning. It was cold in the plane, and the seats weren't comfortable, and all of this, and the food wasn't good. And she's talking away like that. And then we get to the restaurant, and she orders this food and everything. We're sitting there, and she doesn't like the food at all, you know. And I'm on the other side of the table, I'm looking at her, and suddenly I see that this is actually Baba playing the role of an old lady.
Wow.
It was hilarious. But I saw that it was really Baba as Jean Shaw'w. And after that, I never, ever had any problem with how she was, because I had kind of seen through the disguise with her. I mean, it doesn't mean I with one person, but it was hilarious. People had problems with her. I never had any problems with her after that, because I just somehow had seen her essence, and it was kind of funny.
Great,
I mean,
great story.
What's Baba
That's
doing
beautiful.
complaining about
I
food?
love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So every once in a while you get a breakthrough.
Your
with
paradigm
somebody.
shifted, Jeff.
What's that?
I said your paradigm shifted there. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And every once in a while you'll see through the disguise, and it's a great moment, because then you kind of have seen past the personality self to the essence behind it. and you can't help but love that when you see that part. Yeah. Oh wow, there's somebody outside here. Anyway, I've got to go.
Okay.
And here we are again. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you all.
So great.
Wait,
Good night,
Nasreen.
everyone.
Wait, we can't go
Baba.
until Nasreen makes the final statement here. Nasreen.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Avatar meher baba ki jai. Avatar meher baba ki jai. Avatar meher baba ki jai.
Okay.
Baba, everybody. Thank you.
Now
Thank you.
I'm at you. Okay. Much